Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and there's a lot of problems in the UK with pensions, there's a lot of problems everywhere with pensions, but as this article from the Telegraph says, 6 million middle-class workers not saving enough for retirement, DWP warns, and of course the DWP is a Department for Work and Pensions in the UK. Now, as this article goes on to say, of the 12 million people not saving enough, over half are middle and high earners with incomes of more than £34,500 in the run-up to retirement, it found. So we could go all into every detail of this story, but there's a much bigger picture to this than any of this bureaucratic mumbo-jumbo that they're going to spew in the Telegraph. And that is that people as young as myself or John or anyone that's basically under, I'd say, like even 45 at this point, very possibly, will likely never get their pension. People my age will never get it, definitely. And that goes for most places in the world right now because, of course, the pension funds are just banker schemes and they're ponzis. And John...
it's the government and the banks are working together. The government gets to tax you on that higher amount when you retire because they entice you, getting in a little bit of money with deductions and so on at the front end. Meanwhile, while you make all that money in the fund, while you're getting taken away, sometimes 2 to 6% of that out of in the management expense ratios from different funds, from the bankers, you're just getting looted basically of your income. Now, why don't you start taking responsibility yourself? I personally, the only pension that I have to contribute is what the government puts a gun to my head and say that I have to pay in the CPP contributions in Canada.
This all goes back to the dependency that the state and banking system wants you to have, and that's why we decided to do this report. Wasn't to go over all the stats with pensions. We've gone over that enough times, the shortfalls, etc. But it's more down to what you as an individual do, the self-sustainability, you taking care of yourself and not making, depending on the government and banking system to take care of you when their very prerogative is to ensure that you are in debt, because a populace in debt is a populace in servitude. And if you're shoved down that bottomless pit of debt, you are forced to ask for a ladder up from the government and the banking system, which puts you in perfect servitude. That's exactly where they want you. So self-sustainability and self-responsibility, financial responsibility, that is the hallmark of freedom. You cannot have freedom without responsibility, and that goes from all levels. The government, banking system, the media largely has push people into dependency over the year where it's offensive to talk about, actually being self-sustainable. You must depend on the government, aka the theft of the taxpayer, the extortion of the taxpayer, the dismay and poverty of the masses.
Well, yeah, we're talking about taxation is theft. The pension withdrawals from your money is theft as well, from my point of view.
Where's your choice?
Where I'm going to see that money when I grow up, it's never going to be there for us, Josh. So it's just a big joke, this whole scheme of saying that, we're going to, make sure that you save enough money, and the auto withdrawals, as they were talking about here in the UK, it's just another way of forcing people into the system so the bankers could enrich themselves more and the government on the back end can get more taxation from you on the other end. From money, they actually, first of all, you invested it, and then they tax you again. You first got the income tax, then you put that money back into the fund, then they tax you again, another income tax. So it's very highly untax efficient getting into these funds as well, even though they entice you to get in because of the tax deductions that they try to make you feel good about putting your money into this whole black hole of pension that is starting to really form in the world right now. We're looking at, CalPERS is one of the biggest pension funds in the US. That takes care of all the public workers in California. It's a massive fund. That one is going to go bankrupt. Several other municipal or state funds in all over the states are running low on cash, and they're all being used a lot of times as a fund to just buy more things for the government, get more power and so on. I look at Norway now; they're withdrawing money from the pension fund that people are supposed to have. In order to keep the government afloat, of course, and make the government look good. And I was looking at numbers here quickly from like how badly underfunded these programs are on an average. Now, the average in the APAC countries, excluding Japan and Asia, is 41.1% underfunded. So that should terrify a lot of Asians. How badly, if you got fooled into investing in a lot of those schemes, and then you look at the North American average is 21.7%, Josh. That's amazingly terrible as well. And then 8.2 for Europe. Now, what we need to turn this into is, what should people invest in? This, of course, is our opinion. You need to get away from the grid of the control of the bankers and the government. You need
the centralization.
Yeah, try to find vehicles, like, for example, if you are not too comfortable having wealth insurance, which I highly suggest, or invest in the crypto market. I have also what I call an infinite bank, which I fund money into, and I have money there sitting there that I could borrow to myself. So you actually become outside of the bank. You're borrowing money to yourself. Now you have to pay. You can pay it back, but it's part of it's a whole life insurance policy. So when you die, you actually pay back all the mortgage. And also, as you accumulate money into this over time, if you want to use it as a retirement, you actually are able to take out money by borrowing it. Well, listen, you're borrowing that money, Josh, but what they're not telling you is that money, when you borrow it, you don't pay taxes on it. You don't pay taxes on borrowed money. So instead of withdrawing it from your RSPs, paying 30-40%, you're actually making a lot of money. So that's one part of the thing.
Well, I mean, I think a big bet is, you mentioned the crypto market. So there's, with gold and silver, it's insurance of wealth. With Bitcoin, all that, it's temporary insurance at the most, but it's mostly an investment in an asset that's decentralized off the grid. It's
make money on it. If you're not making money in cryptocurrencies right now, it's a terrible investment idea trying to think that the current stock markets and everything is so great.
Yeah, you have to get away
from train.
You have to get away from
off the grid.
You have to get away from the derivatives markets, of heavily manipulated markets pushed by the banking system, central banking system, regular banking system, governments around the world
themselves.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we need some voluntary unity. So individuals helping each other by means of the private contract rather than the social contract, which is basically a contract that no one ever signed. They're born into it. It's like, oh, well, you're now, our servant. You are now subservient to us. And that is a huge issue because we talk about voluntarism a lot, and it comes down to individuals helping each other by voluntary means, but also being an individual and not being in a coercive collective with a gun to your head because there's no moral or logical reasoning in, you have a good idea of 51%, so let's enslave the 49% at gunpoint and say our ideas are good, so somehow good ideas
money into your pension fund, right?
Yeah, somehow good ideas require force. No, good ideas do not require force. They require individual public demand based on, well, what do you want to see with your own life? What do you want with your own life? Well, you get to decide that, not some governing power that uses force against you. So it comes down to the non-aggression principle as well. But I think that overall, the whole point of this is that people are dependent on the government and the banking system that basically enslaves them, that puts them in that situation in the first place, that monopolizes industry and uses those monopolization tactics in order to claim they're stopping the monopolization when it's just a thin veil that leads to more perpetual Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, repeat. It's all absolute nonsense. It's a scam. So I think that it's important that people get off the grid, look at cryptocurrencies, look at gold and silver, look at tangible assets, look at that which is decentralized, and stay away from the central planning cartels throughout the world within the central banking system, and government. Yeah. Lead yourself, rule yourself, stop depending on the system that benefits off of your demise, off of your destruction, off of your debt, off of your poverty. Stay away from this system. I don't know how many more times that we could possibly say this. I know most of our viewers understand, but there's always more people that say, well, maybe the government can fix this and make this better. It never will, because the whole point of government is to steal, lie, cheat, kill, kidnap, and extort. It's all their agenda. There's no good in that agenda except for the, let them eat cake moments.
Well, and they also are doing things very inefficient. So it's just ridiculous, Josh.
Yeah, no, it's just, like I said, Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, repeat. So stay away from these pension funds. Save yourself your monies. Like, save it yourself. Put your money into something you can believe in. Do your own due diligence. This is not financial advice. This is our opinion because you need to get some, academic degree from a terrible university to propagandize people with nonsense instead of, actually telling the truth. But as we said, it's our opinion because of, the big bad government is going to come in and break our door down if we don't say that.
Financial education is so important. Go out and read books on different topics that me and Josh have been talking about, and you'll become so much wealthier than having to, let yourself over to somebody else to take care of your money, which a lot of people don't. They take care of themselves before they take care of you.
Like I said, rule yourself. The main points to make are food, water, shelters, self-defense. You're not gathering things for the toughest guy on the block. Of course, gold, silver, tangible assets, decentralized Bitcoin, Dash, in my opinion, EOS. We'll be interviewing Dan Larimer of EOS in the coming days. These are very important things to look at, and stay away from the central banking system. That paper or polymer currency in your wallet, it's nothing more than IOU notes. All fiat currencies eventually revert to their intrinsic value of zero. They always have, they always will. Going back to 1024 AD in China, it's always going to continuously happen over and over again. So don't depend on them. Depend on yourself. Educate yourself, because that's the only way you will prosper long term.
Yeah, don't drive a horse and buggy when there's Formula One cars that you can race with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get around with.
Yeah, exactly. And enough said on that. We will be back at you with much more here at WHAM. There's always stuff to talk about. We just wanted to kind of break down into these very interesting, topics that people aren't talking about enough. They're like, well, what can the government do to solve this problem? Yeah. Instead of, well, what can we as individuals do to solve this problem? So with that said, thanks for watching, everyone, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth,
be the change.
Like what you see here at WHAM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, we can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so overwhelmingly demonetized and censored by YouTube as the Anti-Defamation League comes in and flags all of our content as hate speech. You can also find me at Josh Sigurdson at steemit.com. That's steemit.com, the future of social media, where you get paid in the upvote of your post via Steem, the cryptocurrency. You can also find our Bitcoin address in the description and the comments below, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And don't forget to come on down to Acapulco in Acapulco, Mexico in February, one of the best events of the year, and you can save money on your tickets by typing in promo code WHAM. That's WAM. We'll leave the link below for you, and until next time, don't forget to subscribe. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.